Shalom. First and foremost, facing the east, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, whom this world ignorantly calls God. His name is Yahweh, which means He is, He exists. Bahashem, that means in the name of Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus, because that's what they read in the English Bibles. All right, and it's a transliteration, all right, of the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son's names. All right. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Those are the men I learned this truth from. Truth of the names, truth of some of the breakdowns, mysteries, all right, contained within what you call the Bible. All right. They preach on the highways and hedges week in and week out, risking their life and freedom to do so. All right. So shalom to the 1/3 part of Israel scattered to the four winds of the earth. That would be so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. And those of you who look like the other nations but go back to the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm your brother, your humble servant, Tasab Yahweh, back with a quick one in the spirit. And this is based on what I'm watching, a documentary on Greenland. Let's see, it's on YouTube, and it's called Greenland Between Denmark and Trump. So it came out 8 hours ago on DW documentary, again on YouTube. And there's a woman at about the 10-minute mark. Heavy set woman. She looks to be an Edomite, right? She's in Greenland, and she's basically explaining that Greenland is basically a colony, and so she was in a local meat shop, making her purchases for her and her son. And basically, what she was saying was, they pretty much do they try to do a lot of hunting there. So they eat fresh meat. They eat like whale, different varieties of fish. And if it's like deer season or something like that, then they'll have that in the meat shop. But she went to another store, because they're talking about the cultures, right, of Denmark. So Denmark is it's like it's part of the EU, right? So they got a little store there, like a little convenience store, and then the lady, she was like, it's kind of hard to purchase items there because they're more expensive. So, and she said like they try to stay away from the meats that Denmark uh uh you know exports there and that they import, because the meats be having additives and all that. And then they show like Doritos and cook like candy and ice cream, stuff like that, right? So she was saying that those items that come from Denmark are more expensive. She made the point like she made the point that it's difficult for them because they don't want to go from being dependent upon Denmark. They don't want to be dependent. They want to be independent. But now, the world is paying more attention to Greenland because of this whole fiasco with Trump wanting to just take over Greenland, right? So she basically was basically. I was thinking, I was like, yeah, you know, being dependent on a nation, and it's not even really her nation though, if you think about it, because they got the local peoples. They call them indigenous, right? They're called the Inuit. So they show some segments with the Inuit people, right? And if anybody was supposed to, if anybody should have independence, it should be them, the Inuit. Not these colonizers. And it's funny because they come over there talking about they want independence from something, and they're the colonizers. And it's the same thing over here in the United States. And this is the point of why I'm making in this video. Like if you look at the United States of America, you had peoples here already, right? Not to say that they're in what do you call it, indigenous, because they actually have a homeland in the Levant, right, where they are indigenous too, you know. their ancestors. All right, so it would make them as descendants indigenous to a specific land, right? Being Israel, the 10 tribes over here, and then actually the additional 2 tribes that came, later on. Well, actually 3 tribes. That would be Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So that would be so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, so our land is it actually Israel, but you got people pretending that they somebody else. But you have colonizers come over here, right, claiming America as their own. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is not this is not something that just happened. Obviously, it's been the case since what 1490, 1490s, early 1490s, 1492. So it's just funny to see. And then how they came over here and they said, oh, we want our independence from Great Britain, and here we are, this Edomite in this video saying she wants independence from from Denmark when she is from Denmark. She's clearly a Edomite woman, Edomitis, So it's like they got some nerve, man. They got some audacity, So let me get a couple precepts. I want to make this a quick one. Just based on this video, I just think it's funny, like the hypocrisy. They showed a church there that was set up. It's a Christian church. And let me see if I can get y'all a little audio from this. I should just pull up the clip real quick. I'll just do a fair use thing. All right, y'all, I'll do that. Hold on, let me say. All right, so there go my fair use disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use of purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit use, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So I'm not using this for any profit. So I'm not making no money on this. This is clearly for educational use. All right, let's get to it.
Many Greenlanders feel torn between their traditional roots and modern lifestyles. Amy Pipaluk and her family live in Nuuk. After studying in Denmark, she decided to return to Greenland.
I studied in Odense for 2 years and have now come back to Greenland. I miss.
We don't know what's best. But of course, we all hope that Greenland will at some point gain independence. Greenland's colonial past is evident in the towns. The octagonal Lutheran church on Disco Island is one famous example. Denmark's king sent the first missionary to Greenland in 1721. The goal was to convert the people to Christianity and keep Denmark supplied with oil from whale and seal blubber. Nuuk is Christian and was confirmed by Pastor Sarah Mathisen. A boat serves as a reminder of the past, when the Inuit religion collided with Christianity.
I can't think of anyone who still subscribes to the old beliefs.
The pastor seems fairly relaxed.
So you see, basically, like when the colonizers come, they come bringing their belief systems, and basically what you just heard was them saying that the Inuit, like the old customs, the old ways, whether pagan or whatever, those ways is pretty much eradicated for Christianity. All right, so with Christianity, it comes with a certain doctrine, especially that the certain denominations teach. All right, so it pretty much wiped away their whole belief system, and they set up a modernized version that they felt like the people should have. Right. So basically, the Inuit people, like the newest generations, just like us Israelites over here in the United States, you know, for the most part, most of us are pretty much totally separated from our past, just lost. Because the devil, he has a way that he wants things to look the way that the devil feels like he wants to operate. Because after all, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So this man is smiling, but he's not really happy. You can go and watch the documentary and see what I'm talking about. But he's totally separated from his heritage, man, his culture, his customs, his beliefs, just like you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are over here further west. All right, in the Western Hemisphere, you know, where the Edomite has had pretty much the sphere of influence. All right, that they seek to further solidify through this technocracy, putting everybody into their digital prison and and it's like, okay, if the fiat currency, with the bond market and all that, if that shit is collapsing and you see all this debt, you see all this conflict, you see the desperation, the desperate acts that they're doing by going and trying to conquer these different places to secure something for themselves. If that shit didn't work, what makes you think that a wealth or financial reset is going to work? That shit don't work because you still owe the creditors. You know how you gonna pay them back? They talk about they want to level the playing field. How the fuck are you gonna level the playing field that was never leveled? You don't know how to level the playing field. How many? Let me look this up real quick, y'all. All right, so I'm on Google. I'm not sure how truthful it's gonna be, but I asked how long has the United States dollar been in use, and what is the national debt? The national debt right now, right? So it says the USD has roots from the 16th century Europe. Man, look. It says became official currency in 1792. All right, it says 1792. All right, so I wanted to provide y'all a visual. All right, so 1792 to now, that's 234 years. So these people, these Edomites have had 234 damn years to get the shit right with the USD and still manage to fuck it up. You see what I'm saying? You can't make this shit up, man. Now let's go back and take a look at the national debt. All right. Became official currency in 1792, but the US has had national debt since its 1789 founding. Wow. It says exceeding 38 trillion dollars with a T as of early 2026, a figure continually growing due to government spending, right? So you got to be able to balance the budget, right? It says government spending, major crises, and economic stimulus. Economic stimulus would have to it deals with your fiscal policy, your gross domestic product, and they do what they call quantitative easing when the Federal Reserve goes and starts turning on the money printers and they start printing up money, which devalues or debases the currency. And when you devalue and debase the currency, guess what happens to the cost of things at the grocery store, the gas pumps, the cost of living in general. Everything seems to be going up, but really because they're printing the money behind the scenes, right? And just spending out of this world. And then, of course, you got a black hole military budget that just eats a hole through everybody's wallet. For example, you work your job, they taking taxes out, like before you even see it, as if Uncle Sam himself was standing right beside you, sweating, doing the labor at the job that you work. Okay? None of this stuff that the Edomites doing is righteous. None of it is balanced and none of it is fair because they are the devil on the earth, period, point blank, man. Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is abomination to Yahweh, but a just weight is his delight. A just weight, right? So a just weight is something that who is going to be using? The just. And who are the just? Because we know a false balance is used by who? The liar, the stealer, the deceiver, that's the devil. But the just shall live by faith, right? And that faith, it just equates to the trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, right? Hey, you trusting in the devil, you're going to be disappointed every single time because he's a miser. You know, he's crafty, cunning, sneaky. He the one who set up the Ponzi schemes, the multi-level marketing pyramid schemes, the Ponzi's, all of this, these confidence games, these secretive trusts. That's why on their money it said all capital letters, which is the title. It says, "In God they trust," but what God they talking about? Right, the God of Mars, the God of all these. They got different gods, different deities, man, that they believe in. They, you know, they just create stuff on the fly, and that's what they rock with, man. And they operate with deception, man. Different devices, right? 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? So you got to know that Satan got a lot of devices, man, at his disposal because, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? That's Job 9. And ignoring is just simply, not paying attention, not being awake. That's why the Heavenly Father says to stand upon our watch. He tells the watchmen to be watchmen. Right? You cannot be a watchman if you don't have the eyes to see what's going on or the ears to hear what's going on, man. You will suck at being a watchman. Your people, the whole flock of your people will get attacked. Okay? If you're not a good watchman, that means you a hireling. That means that somebody paid you to go up there, so you don't really have love for the sheep like that. You don't really have love for your people. So you wouldn't make a good watchman because you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. You're not circumspect, man. All right? So that's the wrong position for you. Just go ahead, just go ahead and chill with the sheep. Just be that. Don't try to be something more than you not. Don't try to take on more than don't bite off more than you can chew. Basically, sit your ass down somewhere. Again, get back to the thief real quick in the hireling. You see, John 10:10, it says, "The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy." Who is that? That's the Edomite. That's Satan. That's the so-called white man on the earth, man. Yahweh Shai said, "I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly." More abundantly, as far as life, he's talking about the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and not being in spiritual darkness. All right, not having that obscurity, in your mind and in your heart, that darkness, man. He wants you to have light. He wants your body, your vessel to be full of light, because you are the temple of the living power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. But if you walking around blindly, it's like, okay, lights on, nobody's home. Verse 11 says, Yahweh Shai said, "I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep." All right, he gonna lay it down for the sheep. And Yahweh Shai did that. All right, so he did that for his sheep, man. Those people who follow him. All right, so in advance, you should know that Yahweh Shai did a great thing for you. All right, if you can hear it, if you can see it. It says, verse 12, "But he that is a hireling and not the shepherd," see that? There's a difference. It says, "But he that is an hireling," that means you got hired, somebody paying you. So you ain't gonna do a good job because what? "A gift spoileth the heart." A spoiled heart is a destroyed heart. That's a dark heart. See that money? That's why Yahweh Shai say you cannot serve power Yahweh and mammon. You will love one and you will despise the other. You will hold to the one, okay? And then you're gonna hate the other one. But let me read that again. "But he that is an hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not." So if he don't got no skin in the game, as far as the sheep are concerned, he not gonna care about them. All right. It says, "But he that is an hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming," right? AKA the devil, right? "And leaveth the sheep and fleeth." That's some cowardice. That's cowardice right there, right? He's fleeing when he sees the wolf coming. "He leaveth the sheep and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth them, catches the sheep, and scattereth the sheep. So the sheep now who need the protector, that needed and depend upon a good shepherd, okay, to lead them, okay, the sheep are now scattered. They lost. So this is what happened to our people in the past. You know, you had bad wolf coming, right? But you had bad hirelings over the flock, okay, that caused the sheep to be scattered because it wasn't good leadership. So whenever you have bad leadership, you have hirelings that don't care about the flock. Guess what's going to happen to the flock, man? They get scattered. It says right there, and scattereth the sheep. And it says, verse 13, the hireling fleeth because he is an hireling and careth not for the sheep. Yahushua says, I am the good shepherd and know my sheep and am known of mine. Right? He says, as the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay my life down for the sheep. Okay? And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring. Right? So that's talking to the Israelite foreigners. And the 10 tribes of Israel that was over here in the United States. So let me read this to you again in that context. Yahushua said, and other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. And there shall be one fold and one shepherd. So Yahushua is saying he's going to rescue those scattered sheep. He's going to bring them into the one fold, the northern and southern kingdom, right? Look, he says, and there shall be one fold. I repeat, it says, and one shepherd. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life that I may take it again. Right? So let me read that again. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life that I might take it again. And there's another precept that goes perfectly with this. This is John 15 and verse 13, and I'll end it here. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Verse 14, ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you. So as the good shepherd, he put the commandment out. Okay? What did he say? You would be joint heirs of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You know, he said, ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friends. For all things that I have heard of my Father, I have made known unto you. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. Let me read that again. That you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. That whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. All right? Call Halayim La, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Raharakakadash. All right? Peace and salutations to the hopefully elect, fellow Akim out here laboring in his truth. Shalom, once again, to the 1/3 part of Israel, scattered to the four winds of the earth, man. All right, Lord's willing, Abaratazah, this is edifying. Until the next one, Shalom, Shalom.